The afternoon today. We have two fantastic panelists who will give us a lot of words of wisdom, and I hope we gain as much knowledge as we can. Instead of me introducing them, I'd let them introduce their firm, what they do. It might be more appropriate. So let's start off with Jeremy from Microsoft, handling the Minecraft games, multiple things around the game. So Jeremy.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Snook from Microsoft. I've been in the games industry since 2001. I spent about 10 years in the publishing business between casual games and console games. So about 5 years running publishing for Gamehouse and Real Arcade on the casual side. And then I moved over to Microsoft and worked on the Xbox Live Digital Games publishing group for about 5 years. And then when we acquired Mojang, and I switched over to that and started working on global expansion for Minecraft. So about 10 years of publishing, about 17 years in games.
Fantastic. Next is Paul from Stick Sports. Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming. My name is Paul Collins from Stick Sports. We're the developer and publisher of Stick Cricket, which some of you might have heard of. My background is this is a second career for me, and I started it in 2004, setting up an agency in London that would put flash games in front of brands. And one of the first flash games we came across was Stick Cricket, which was developed by an Australian who's sitting in the audience there. And we did a deal, and we started publishing it, working it online, and making money through advertising and sponsorship. So publishing it around the world and sort of monetizing it with brands. And then we were one of the early adopters of, or migrators to mobile. We shifted Stick Cricket over to mobile in 2010 and never looked back, to the extent that we barely touch the website today. We just do mobile.
Fantastic. So advert gaming and 17 years of experience. So how's the industry changing from in these past 10, 15 years that you've been? What are the key changes that you've seen?
I've seen a lot of saturation of content in the global market. It's very difficult now to, obviously, with all the app stores and the amount of content there, it's really difficult to make your game stand out. If you don't have something magical about your game, if you don't dial it in just right, it's, you know, it never blips above onto the list, and then you're laboring. It's a labor of love with no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Sure. Paul, advert gaming to pure mobile gaming publishing. It was an interesting. Based on the fact that that's where I came from. I mean, why did I do that? At the time back in the mid 2000s, it was all about flash games. I mean, it was as easy to produce games with Adobe Flash as it is, I guess, today to do with in Unity. You know, it was Unity is the game platform of choice for the indie developer today. The issue is that it was very easy. You know, one-man bands, two-man studios could produce in Flash. You know, you just needed to be able to a rudimentary level of coding and an ability to make it look okay. So there's lots of content and very little means of monetizing it. This is, prior to app stores, obviously. There was a lot of, browser-based games, sort of, professional browser-based games which were out there, but they were very difficult to get into. So what we were trying to do is trying to monetize it at a very, basic level based on, branded content. In those days, a lot of people, brands, e-commerce sites, things like that, they had fairly dry, unsticky pages, and they needed to, they could bring in people, but they couldn't keep them to stay. So what they were looking for was sticky content that would be positive user experience for them, and that's what we were supplying. And it was sort of an interesting market, but it absolutely died a death. Okay. It fell apart. And thankfully, it sort of much of that market moved to mobile. And so, the viral hits that we would have had, because they were based on viral hits, people would send the Flash game to their friends, via email, oh, have you seen this? And then it's, just pops up in the browser and you play it. It was all very, very casual, very sort of throwaway games. And most of that moved into mobile, which was rather amusing.
Interesting. So that brings us to the $1 million question, right? So let's start with Jeremy. What does publishing comprise of? Because Minecraft is a $1 billion giant. So the publishing of such a game is completely different from, let's say, publishing an indie game. What does publishing mean?
That's a $1 million question. I'll give you the $10 answer. Looking at PC, console, mobile publishing, really it used to be about getting on the platform. And the platforms, you had to have some publisher. If you're going to publish on Xbox back, even as recent as three years ago, you would have to work with an Electronic Arts or a Ubisoft to get onto the console. There was just no way of doing that. Platforms have now become a lot more open to independent developers without having the resources of a publisher. Again, coming from the Microsoft side, you can publish on Xbox and Windows 10 just as an indie. There's even a program set up called ID program at Xbox that is designed for giving support to small indies without having the resources or the wherewithal to have a massive marketing team and QA team to help with that.
Sure. So Paul?
Yeah, it's interesting because we've been really analysing that ourselves in terms of what do we want to be as a publisher. And if that's your $10 answer, I'm going to give the $1 answer. It's very low tech. Essentially, we sort of perceive it as being the developer is there about the products, about building a game that is retains a user and monetizes them in some shape or form. And that's where their starting point and their end point is, and they deliver that, and that's their job to deliver it. How to reach an audience, how to reach a market, how to actually scale it to the market. That's a completely different set of skills and a different, resource base. And you don't need techs and creatives for that. You need people predominantly on marketers to do that, and you need to leverage an asset base. And what is that asset base if it's not a relationship with an app store? The ability to get featured is very, very difficult today. You can't just press the button on iTunes or on Google Play and then expect next week that it will feature at the top of the store. They just won't happen. They're highly curated environments, and these guys, don't want to. They won't put everything up there. So you have to have a relationship with them. You have to maintain that relationship over time. But more importantly, you have to have an audience, and you have to have an audience across multiple channels. So it's not just an existing mobile, if you're targeting mobile, it's not just an existing mobile audience that you can cross-promote this new title to. It's also, a YouTube channel. It's a Facebook channel. And a Facebook channel, unlike most of your others, is an interactive channel. You need to be able to manage that over time. So for us, it's a big problem. It's not an easy thing to do. We have a million followers on Facebook, and we have to have somebody looking after that. And interacting with the users, keeping them engaged with us, because you can't just sort of every 3 months pop up and say, "Oh, download this next game, please." Yeah. Because that's essentially spamming them, and you don't want to do that. So there's so many channels of communication that you have to manage and develop themselves, and that is the task of the publisher to do that. There is another aspect to it as well, which is really about ensuring that the product is meeting what the market expectation is, because sometimes the developer is very much focused on the user experience, which is quite right, and he should be, or she should be. But somebody has got to turn around and say, oh, hang on, I love the game, it's brilliant, it works beautifully, but it's not what the market needs. It's just graphics aren't good enough, the gameplay, the structure or style is just a bit dated, or is not understood within the market, that it's just too advanced for the market, or it's not suited to the market that we're trying to target. So there is that aspect of sort of, product management, which is also falls within the publisher remit.
Sure.
Just tying into that, I think that two things that you said I really stuck out to me. The first one is, obviously you have to have a really good game, right? There's got to be a core gameplay loop, that the game community channels like Facebook, like YouTube, where you can have that direct relationship. You don't have to have a marketing manager pushing dollars out for campaigns online. You can go post videos yourself. You can go whatever channel is appropriate for the region and the audience that you're trying to hit. Minecraft wasn't a published game. It was an independent developer in Sweden who released this game, and they until Microsoft acquired them, they spent $0, literally $0 on marketing Minecraft. It was all through the power of the community. So one of the things that's been a tenet of ours in 9 years is, whatever we do for Minecraft, first it has to benefit the community and the player, because without that, we're dead in the water. So for us, it was YouTubers. It was Facebook, it's Twitch somewhat, but YouTube for us was core, and seeing people who would have channels and really respond to those community inquiries, conversations directly was a key part of what we did right.
Fantastic. So they're not the $10 or $1 answers that you gave. Fantastic. So I was just talking to a couple of angel networks or seed networks in India, and their observation before the event was that a game studio has to be well-rounded. It should know how to build a game, launch a game, market, community management, all of it. But after NGDC, everyone started opening their eyes. So now they feel, oh, okay, so if an indie studio is good at building games, that's what maybe they should focus at, just building great games. Someone else like a publisher can come fill in some other role. Someone else like an investor can come fill in the financial role. So that is new to India, because typically everyone wants to be doing everything. So
yeah, it's a challenge that we have had to face and confront ourselves, because we're a small studio. There are not many people in stick sports, and we're also split between UK and Australia. And we wanted to, we thought it was an easy thing to just we say that we were a self-publishing developer, and automatically that makes us so. But it doesn't. You actually need to have people in very specific functions doing very specific things. And when you're a small studio, getting people to focus on one particular role is always difficult. They have to be multi-talented in it. They have to be pulled in and out of challenges that pop up during the day and during the week. We've now sort of focused ourselves by separating out the two elements of developer and publisher, because the skill sets are different. The motivation is fundamentally different. It is that, and that's the key divider. So to have people who are sort of migrating based on what's needed to be done this week from one side to another just doesn't work. They are very, very distinct functions.
Great that you brought such an important point to light, right? So startup founders are expected to do everything, but it's not necessary that they focus on things that they're not usually the best at. Fantastic. So let's go to the next phase, right? So there are these studios which want to pitch to you, or which want to understand from your experience, what kind of games do publishers pick, and what are typically the reasons for picking a specific game? And purely from a person who's pitching to you, not generic. So if, let's say, 5 people pitch to you, why would you pick a specific game among those 5?
When I was running publishing groups, it was all about my audience, the people who were paying the money for the games. And so when a developer would sit down and show me a game that was very clearly not for the audience, it told me that they hadn't done the research on what was successful on my site, and so they were just bringing their passion to me, which was great. It was fun to see a lot of the stuff, but oftentimes if it's not something that I could sell to my consumer, it didn't really matter how passionate they were about the game. Really, when you're pitching to a publisher, understand what their strengths are, what they're looking for, what their consumer is paying, and then plan accordingly.
Sure, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, my experience in publishing is so limited. Certainly, publishing third party is so limited. I mean, I've been pitched to this week, and it's been very interesting to see what the approach people take to pitch. And I do like to cut to the chase and try and consider what the proposition is and make it very, very targeted. And as you say, it needs to be focused on what I might be able to sell. So, if I'm saying we're interested in sports games and only sports games, and preferably cricket if possible, then don't pitch me a shoot 'em up. It's not going to. As you say, it's fun to watch, great to see, but I can't really comment, and I'm struggling to find good things to say.
What if it's a cricket-themed shoot 'em up?
Yeah, why not?
That's. I'd also say when you're doing the pitching, obviously passion goes a long way, but we're game developers, we're game publishers, we're gamers. Show the game. There were some pitches I saw yesterday. There was no game. There was a trailer. Trailers are okay. They work. But if you come in with a PowerPoint and no game, it's really hard to gauge what your game is going to be like and give honest feedback on the game itself.
Yes, so that's a very important feedback to the audience as well, right? So if you're meeting a publisher on a one-on-one, a dedicated meeting, be prepared, go through their data, understand what they're looking for so that it becomes a better connect.
Can I just bring in one other point? And
Sure.
it's not really from my experience as a publisher, because, very limited experience, but really from when we were doing Advogaming and we were pitching all the time games to clients and we were getting turned down a lot, Don't take a rejection from a publisher as a spite on the quality or the style of your game or whatever it is. It is purely a question of matching their style of game to the audience that they think they can sell to, and it is very, very specific. And even I'm sure some of the big publishers, you assume that they can get any game anywhere. Actually, I'm sure I doubt they can. They have very, very specific requirements in terms of the type of games that they know they can sell and monetize effectively, and they don't really want to stray from that because it doesn't benefit them, and it equally wouldn't benefit the developer either. So you do have to kiss a few frogs, but take every rejection as an inspiration to go on to the right partner.
Great. So let's kind of wrap up with one last question. So you've been in India, you've talked to a bunch of studios out there. What's your, as an ending comment, right? What's your take? Are you filled with positivism? Are you filled with hope on the ecosystem as a whole? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm amazed. It's been an extremely positive experience. I've never been to a game conference in India before, despite us being, India is a prime market for us and has been for a number of years. But I've never been here to see the developer community. I'm extremely impressed by the quality of the games that are coming through, certainly now, and there is the market is really on the verge of it's over the last year it's changed substantially in India, and that's only going to get bigger, and it's going to get faster. The change is going to be much faster next year. Our biggest takeaway, because we're both here from both founders from Stick Sports, is that we are going to get stamped on by local developers producing pretty good cricket games. We've had a we've had a good position in the market for some time, but we've seen some amazing games come through just this week.
So you have only one way out. Publish these games with good deals. Or they're going to come after your audience.
And we have to rethink our own product as well.
Cricket, shoot 'em up.
So, Jeremy, any ending comment?
Yeah, what I've seen this week, again, new to India, learning more about the market here, really feels like what I saw in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, 15 years ago with casual games, PC-based games. There was the first couple of years of struggling, low quality, a lot of iteration and trying to get it right, but it feels like the point that we're at now with India is where you're at that tipping point of there's quality games. There's a market here that's primed and about to, I think, explode in a great way for people who want that kind of entertainment and are willing to pay money for it. I think it's a very exciting time to be a part of it.
Thank you. So fantastic to have two well-accomplished leaders. I think Vijay, Q&A, do we have time? Okay. So let's just take two questions. I'll pass on one of them.
So I just wrote down the keywords that I wanted to ask you. So with Microsoft trying to push Minecraft and different kinds of software, productivity softwares on different kinds of platforms, right? With Minecraft being in almost all platforms. Apart from AR and VR, what are the other platforms that are you kind of looking at in the coming 2 or 3 years that we as a developer might be at the right place at the right time to take advantage of?
Fantastic.
That is a good question. For us, it's all about, again, the community. We want to make sure that if people want to play Minecraft, they can play it on whatever device they're playing on. So as new devices come into the market, we look at that. We see if there's a critical mass, if people are adopting it. We were early in an AR, VR. The critical mass hasn't exploded there yet. But with new devices that come online, as soon as there's a desire from our community for us to be there, we'll be there.
Yeah, so another one. With Google kind of unofficially killing Flash, and Congregate is kind of still doing its web-based stuff, and I wanted to know what is your opinion on that?
Well, the future of free-to-play Flash-based websites.
Not Flash-based, but the kind of thing that Congregate is doing with Unity Web GL.
Web browsers.
Yeah.
I think they'll continue to have their space, and we still retain, having spent zero time for the last 7 years on developing our own site, we still retain a few 100,000 uniques a month, which is pretty impressive for a site that doesn't get touched. So there will be some people who will go to the legacy, and it is probably the easiest touch point to your brand. But I can't see, it's pretty impossible to monetize. We've never been able to monetize it effectively except through big sponsorship deals, and I'm not sure Congregate monetize that particularly well. I think they treat it as a feeder towards their mobile business now. And so I'm not sure there's a long-term legs for it, to be fair. I think there's also an issue where, as the browser impressions are increasingly coming from mobile as opposed to desktop, then it's going to be very difficult for them to provide the same kind of user experience.
And one last question. Yesterday there was a talk about 70% of the money in cricket being in India. 70% of the money being in India. And publishers not being able to find those whale players that they can make a lot of money through. Whale players and make a lot of money through video advertisements, especially in India. So what is your opinion on that?
Well, I'm not sure who mentioned that, because I did mention that, so it might have been me who said the 70%. It was a statistic I remember from many years ago when we were looking at where is money in cricket? Not cricket games. Where is money in cricket as a sport? Every aspect of the thing. And it was in those days. It was 70% was India, and that was even before the highlights of the IPL, where the money has gone crazy. So I suspect that's closer to 80 to 90% of the global revenues in cricket is generated in India, and that's a volume-based market. Mass numbers of people. And if that gets translated in the context of game revenues, sports cricket game revenues, which there seems no reason why that shouldn't happen ultimately, then it should, equally represent 80% of the cricket game market in revenue terms will come out of India. It's just, it's a timing issue. It's just a question of when that will happen, and type of products that it will be. It won't necessarily be the standard, global products that there are at the moment.
Run a company called Virtual Infocom since 1998. I'll give you a very brief. When I started back, 98, as a development company, I saw the industry. When I shifted myself, or rather, moved myself from only development to publishing, and then right now as an investor, I invest in startups. I find a gap here in India where, from an investment point of view, people are feeling that a game development company should take care of each and everything. That's a gap. I find there is a gap of proper gamers who can be your paid consumers between your users. So if you look at the so-called game development companies who are coming up, floating up nowadays, who make casual games, sometimes as sports games, they say that, hey, we have got 1 million downloads. How many paid users? Maybe 0.1%. That's a big gap. Now, is there any kind of synergy? I usually travel a lot abroad, invest in few Chinese and few Korean companies. I find their structure is completely, structured as a company, right? My question is, do you feel, both of you, do you feel that we can have some kind of synergy where maybe over the online, maybe in a face-to-face talk, we can have a mentor board from Europe who can actually guide this startup community who are building games, who are passionate enough of making awesome games but doesn't understand business, so that as a whole community can grow in India, and at least they can understand how to make money and sustain. And then maybe from an investor, if I'm investing as an angel, I need to find some VC who can take care of the investment that I have done, and I should have an exit. So from that point of view, can we have some kind of synergy? Maybe not a commitment, but maybe your comments, your thought, so that this industry can grow.
It happens everywhere around the world. So it's not specifically an Indian thing. Every market has the influence of other people coming into it to share their experiences, and everyone takes different things from it because everyone's at different stages in evolution. I would just press that point on you, is rather than, because you sort of suggest that there's a knowledge base outside of the country. Right. I think there are a number of people, homegrown people, who really do get it, who really do understand it. They're pretty well known in the industry today, and they do get it, and they do understand it. It may be a question of the number of those guys against the total developer community may be a bit short. So, they're not all running all the companies. And there may be a lot of companies who are being run by people who don't really know, don't really have that same level of experience. But I'm not sure you're going to get it very easily from abroad. I mean, look, to be honest, we struggle to monetize our game easily in India. And we know why that is. It's because, and even though it's a cricket game, we think we know about cricket and you guys know about cricket. What's the problem? There are such delicate cultural differences and psychological differences in the way people purchase, which I cannot possibly understand. So if I came in and started advising people in a purchase mechanics and what works and why somebody wants to buy something, or what makes it really compelling, this game, I could be way out, because I'm going to have it with a sort of cultural perspective which is fundamentally different. It does have to come homegrown. That's my personal view.
Yeah, I would echo. My experience has been going to conferences. Some of the conferences are really, really good about putting the people in the room. I've just spent 2 days meeting with devs and publishers here, and there's just a great amount of knowledge. I get that same knowledge going to San Francisco, to GDC, going to Cologne, to Gamescom. There are places to go, and in organizations like the IGDA, like NASCOM Gaming Forum, that have that ability, and they pride themselves in doing that matchmaking.
Thank you.
Animation. Great. But regardless of whether you're from animation or gaming, you've already heard of two leaders of Indian animation who made a global mark in a big way. Green Gold Animation, heard of it? Chota Bheem, of course. And Maya Digital Motu Patlu. So with a big round of applause, let's welcome our representatives from Green Gold and Maya. We have Mr. Srinivas, Director at Green Gold Animation, and also joining us is Sonia Nahar, who heads digital and digital marketing at Maya Digital. So thank you, both of you, and we have with us also the organizer of the session, Mr. Ravi Kiran from Go Live, who's a great example for this whole topic that we are going to kick off. Is about intellectual property in animation and how it could then travel to the games space, not only from a perspective of more awareness, but actual good games and the whole thing that is. So Ravi,
I'll
for you, but great.
I'll start off with a small thing there.
Yeah.
So I think my own journey, the reason for the successes we had with fundraising or building great games has been around IPs. So in this very room, I gave a talk last year how building a game on a TV show called Jungle Book helped me get 1 million installs in 3.5-4 months with literally no marketing, less than $10,000 of marketing. Okay, so IP helps a lot. As game developers, we know that. Now what's interesting is the animation industry is also going through something interesting. So their IPs get monetized over 5 to 7 years. Okay, and it's not like our gaming industry. We build a game, we can make money next day. They have to wait for a long period of time. And it was just a marriage waiting to be happening. So once that happens, I think we'll see a lot of IP-based games built. And all of you guys have the opportunity to make fantastic IP models for it and see where it goes.
So you want to talk a little about one by one about your some of your company's intellectual properties, what are they faring, and any forays that you've done with games on your content, and what you're looking today during the matchmaking platforms.
I'm from Cosmos Maya, which is a leading animation company today, and we operate in 2D as well as 3D. We've got our own IPs like Motu Patlu, there's We the Robot Boy, there's Ina Mina Dika, there's Kisna. And these shows are already aired across all good channels. We have Nickelodeon, we have Hungama Digital, we have Discovery Kids, so yeah. And along with this, we are even working on European co-productions, specifically for Amazon with Gerard Han and a lot of other people. So for us, gaming is something really new because of the popularity of our IPs. We just thought it's time to tap the gaming sector and come up with good, unique concepts across games. And definitely we are not looking to develop it by ourselves. We want to license our IPs and just hoping that you guys give up some good concepts, good ideas, and how both of us can collaborate together and work. So yeah.
Great. Fantastic crowd. So I'm from Green Gold. My name is Srinivas Chilkalapudi, and I'm one of the directors at Green Gold. Green Gold, we have been in this industry, animation industry, almost 10 plus years. Chota Bheem is our biggest IP, the most successful IP. We have multiple other IPs. Krishna, Mighty Raju is also doing very well. Super Beam, Chore Police, and so on. A bunch of IPs. So we started gaming when we started our movies. We did theatrical movies starting in 2012. And when we did our first movie, we did a game, Chota Bheem Jungle Run. And that went on to break all records. And so as of today, we have 50 million downloads across six to eight Chota Bheem games. So it's a huge number. And out of that 50 million, 20 million came this year. So the numbers are mind-boggling. And so IP, why to use an IP is a pretty easy answer. If the IP is strong, you already have a fan base, and immediately you'll get that X number of downloads, like Ravi was saying. And the other thing about IP, a lot of, especially in the kids segment, lot of things, what they're watching on TV, what they're playing is all based on the parent trust. If the parent is like, okay, Chota Bheem is something I'm comfortable, or a Motu Patlu I'm comfortable, they will allow the download. Otherwise not. So it's a very big, especially in the kids who are smaller, it's a very important thing. And see, each IP has like their own YouTube channel, their own Facebook channel, their lot of followers, lot of fan base. There are movies coming out, there are events happening across the country. So you can always leverage on those and then take your game to another level. But very important though is that you have to marry the IP with the game. You cannot have Chota Bheem eating not laddu, something else. Then it wouldn't work. Cool, so I'll go back to Anand.
Yeah, so I think Ravi's told that you're not doing a panel.
Yeah.
So we'll just
the idea is all of you will be meeting them in the speed dating session. Pitch your cool game idea, try to get their feedback on your game idea, see if there is a marriage waiting to be happening. So each of them have multiple IPs. So it might not be just Chota Bheem, it might not be just Motu Patlu. It could be something else that clicks. And in my conversation, they're not asking working with about 14 IP markets, 14 IPs, not markets, 14 IPs. So each game has a connect with a different IP. You can't have, let's say, a shooter game, gun shooting game, drop and go and arrow guy. So you have to connect at that level. So when you're pitching these ideas, your ideas, please keep those in mind. I think a fantastic partnership is about to happen. We just need to think in the right lines and make those things happen. Yep, so we move on to the meeting because we are in a date. Yes, and we will meet them as related session. If they remember as specific Q&A, we can have Q&A and personal interaction for 5 minutes before